Hey everyone, your friendly neighborhood Pants is back with another Siege video. Today we're up against Sharknado and Sky, I believe is the name of the yellow guild here. After getting completely wrecked by YRNJesus and RED last Siege, we fell down to G2 where we seem to always have a pretty comfortable win. That said, we still often encounter some pretty tough defenses, and in the case of this Siege, I had a lot of trouble with someone named Cheyenne, similar to the Smith guy last Siege. Anyways, I'll discuss the teams I used, their strengths and weaknesses, and what I might bring against some of the defenses I lost to next time I encounter them. So let's get into the video. All right, so this first match is against Cheyenne's Molong, Kaki, Ritesh, and I'm bringing Bulwark, Amelia, Molong, which I generally consider a free win, but I have been getting wrecked by Ritesh lately, and it's no different here, unfortunately. I decided to kill Kaki first, which may have been my mistake. I was thinking of saving Ritesh for last because he has buffs to give my Bulwark stacks, and Kaki can deal significant amount of damage to any element and has self-sustain. Also, I figured Kaki would be the squishiest of the three monsters, so Molong would suffer the least amount of HP whenever he uses skill 3. That said, I really think this is just a bad team to bring against this defense because just like last Siege, if they cut in between the immunity or strip the immunity from Amelia, then it's going to cause me a lot of problems. In this case, Ritesh provoked my Bulwark, so despite having max stacks, I couldn't use the heal, and on top of that, he was defense broken and killed immediately after, so that left me in a 2v2 that was essentially impossible to win. I did play it out a little bit longer, but it was pretty much GG's there. Next time, I think I'll try Molong with Arnold or Harmonia and a support or a bruiser. That way I can use Molong's skill 3 a little bit more safely and have a bit more sustain because Bulwark's heals weren't enough for me here, and Ritesh's provoke really messed me up, unfortunately. Alright, next up we have Cheyenne's Chiwu, Dark Monkey King, and Cheonpung, and I'm bringing Jean, Annabelle, and Juno. If you watch my video on 10 free-to-play and versatile guild offenses, when I talked about Jean, Tesarion, Vigor, I called it my when I don't know what else to bring, let's try this team, or something along those lines. And if you watch a lot of my Siege replays, you'll notice I use different variations of that offense very often. In this case, I'm subbing Annabelle and Juno in for Tesarion and Vigor to try some triple support team that can all deal a decent amount of damage and heal. Unfortunately, I basically never take a turn here. He had so much attack bar control and landed nearly every debuff on Jean and Annabelle, but didn't really land him on Juno. He did land the attack bar control on Juno, so it was a rough one. He had plenty of violent procs and dealt more damage than I was expecting with his Cheonpung and his Chiwu, so this one was rough. Next time I would likely just try outspeeding and cleaving with like Mirane, Tion, Lucian, because even if Chiwu survives the amp from Lucian, I don't think it's a 1v3 he can win. I could also try using a Despair Moor, assuming Chiwu uses his skill 3 like he's supposed to. My Moor would cut in and hopefully mess him up a bit, then have some kind of follow-up from there like a Charlotte or a Cheonpung of my own, and then some other AoE damage to her. But anyways, this was a rough one. Props to Cheyenne. The dude's a beast. Alright, so speaking of Mirane, Tion, Lucian, I'm bringing that here against Oliverk's Carcano, Iris, Triana. After losing my first 2 matches in a G2 Siege, I was just really wanting a free win, so as soon as I saw this defense, I went for it. I'm currently 5-0 with this offense against this defense, and you can see here that I just wiped him clean. Not even Carcano survived my Lucian's amp, which usually doesn't happen, but luckily it did here. So after that, we have a Khmun, Vigor, Iris, and I'm bringing Joltan, Sabrina, Talia. I really like this offense against Iris. It can lose if Iris just completely stun locks your twins, but I think it does pretty well. Joltan does a great job to tank the damage. You definitely want to kill the Vigor first because he has the power to change targeting priority with a defense break, so I kill him fairly quickly, which puts me in a mostly safe 3v2 scenario. I go for Iris next since she has the heals and the CC that are the only threat remaining after Vigor's dead, and as soon as Iris dies, it's GG because this isn't a 1v3 Khmun can win. So I immediately go for the next Khmun, Vigor, Iris in the same tower. This time I'm using Fran, Malaka, and Cyan, which I think has about the same likelihood of winning as the previous comp, maybe a little bit less. In this case, you still lose if Iris just completely stun locks you, but you can also lose if you miss 2 out of 3 bombs from both your bombers, which is very unlikely. If you have your bombers ruined with max accuracy, it shouldn't happen, but I won't deny that it can't happen. Here I land all 6 bombs and get an easy win though. Alright, so next up we have a Khmun, Clara, Savannah, and I'm bringing Khmun, Rakuni, Malite, which I think is kind of a free win. I still haven't lost with this offense against this defense. I have officially lost against the Carcano lead version. That one loss makes me have like an 85% win rate or something with this offense against Carcano, Clara, Savannah. But like I said, I don't think I've lost against Khmun, Clara, Savannah using this offense. It just seems damn near foolproof. I don't always have the same targeting with this one, as in like who I decide to kill first. It just kind of depends on who gets hurt the most from Malight's reflect damage. I think ideally you want to kill Savannah first, but here you can see the Khmun and the Clara were falling down pretty quickly, like their HP was getting low pretty quickly, so I end up killing Khmun first here, and then the Clara, and saving Savannah for last, which I don't think is usually what happens, but just kind of whatever happens to the RNG, that's, you know, that's what I kind of decide to go with on this offense. So pretty easy win there. All right, next up we have a Khmun Vigor Ethna, and I'm bringing Jean, Tesarion, and Cheonpung. This is my first time bringing Cheonpung onto an offense. I don't know why I'm hesitant to use him. I guess I'm scared that his strip isn't reliable or something. I use him in RTA pretty often, but just never in Guild War. In this case, there's no immunity really to strip except for the first turn, so I figured he would provide a lot of utility to, you know, land some glancing, some defense breaks, and, you know, reduce cooldowns and all the good stuff that he does. Tesarion's the main form of damage, and then Jean does additional crowd control with her provoke if you want to define provoke as crowd control. I'm not sure how you want to define it, but anyways, as soon as Ethna dies, this is a very safe 2v3. I think that it's going to be hard for them to come back, and they don't come back. I get the win pretty comfortably here. Normally I bring Fang Amelia Dozer, but in this case my Amelia was used up in my first match, unfortunately, my first loss. So there's plenty of ways to beat Khmun Vigor Ethna. It's a pretty popular defense in G2 and below. I don't see it in G3 very much anymore. It used to be more popular, but Carcano's the new thing, right? So Khmun Vigor is a little dead. I see people mirror it a lot too, Khmun Vigor Ethna versus Khmun Vigor Ethna, which is kind of a risky mirror, but people do it. Anyways, GG's to Blink. Alright, so this next one is against Giliaowaxes. I don't know how to pronounce your in-game name there, but against this Khmun Vigor Odin, I'm bringing Praha, Rocky, and Triana. Anytime you see an Odin defense, it's most likely a Khmun Vigor Odin or a Khmun Bastet Odin, or I'm seeing Carcano Bastet Odin. Those kinds of things. You can bring a water support, a fire damage doer, and Triana, and you'll likely see a lot of success with it. As far as water supports go, I mostly see Praha or Annabelle, and then for fire damage doers, there's, you know, a huge list of them. You can do Rocky, you can do Tesarion, you can do Perna. If you do a Perna, then you got to make sure you have a defense break from your water support, so you want like an Annabelle along with a Perna, but it just kind of depends. So if you're happening to be seeing a lot of Odin defenses in your meta, build a bunch of Trianas, they'll help you out. In this case, it was a pretty comfortable win. Most often you want to kill Odin first, but I had defense breaks on Khmun and Vigor, and I didn't have one on Odin, so I decided to kill the Vigor first. Luckily he was already at max stacks too, so I wasn't like giving him max stacks, so it was no biggie. Having Despair on your Rocky is very helpful if you're using Rocky. It's not necessary, but it's helpful. AoE monsters like Despair, so go farm some giants. Another really satisfying thing was when Praha landed all of her dots. Like she landed AoE strip and landed dots on everyone. That's such a satisfying thing to see. Alright, so next up we have a Tesarion Iris Savannah. This one was giving my guild quite a bit of trouble. It was 5 and 5 if you didn't see it there. I know it goes by pretty fast. And 4 of those ones were from my guild. So anyways, I'm bringing in Belager, Konamiya, and Lucian. Already used Tian and Lucian earlier this siege, so I just moved the runes around. And I expect Lucian to die, but I expect him to kill Iris and knock Savannah off of her beast, and then Belager to clean up, and that's exactly what happened here. I wouldn't call it 100% safe, but it's unlikely that it loses unless they're just super tanky. So anyways, nice easy win there. Alrighty, this last match here is against a Carcano Eshir Triana, and I'm bringing Vigor, Lulu, and Malite. This is another one of those times where I wasn't thinking straight because I had better options available, but I just didn't go for them. I'm 2-0 with this offense against the Vigor version of this defense, but the Eshir version has a stripper, which makes this counter a bit less safe. You can see here my Malite has a revenge set, which I'm surprised how much I like for him. When I ruined him originally, I only went with Revenge because his slot 4 has tons of resistance, and I'm struggling to get him to max res. Often when I'm using Malite, I don't use his skill 1 much because of the synergy between his passive and his skill 2, so the Revenge proc to boost his defense has been surprisingly useful at times. Here, unfortunately, Eshir had immunity up, so I couldn't provoke, and nothing was forcing people to target Malite, and I had to wait until, he could use skill 2 again. This is my second Malite, which isn't max skilled either, so it takes one more turn to refresh it, and when Carcano's defense break landed, the match really started to go downhill from there. I really lost the moment Malite died, but I played it out a bit longer, hoping for crazy Vigor violent procs. That did not happen. Despite doing mediocre, my guild did do very well this siege, and we got a comfortable win, so at least there's that. Here's another siege video y'all can check out, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you all for watching. Bye.